So this is a design only request just downstream, and it's a private property owner who's interested in seeing habitat improved on his property. So the upstream project is just up here. The city bridge, if you can see my cursor, is going to go through downstream of this private properties on the city. The city of Yakima owns this side right here. This is that little tiny trailhead that'll be, I guess, a bigger trailhead someday. And then the red outline is the parcel ownership of our participating landowner. And then this yellow here is the railroad berm on his property. And kind of going to Luke's earlier question, you can see there's a little more room in here for the creek to move and or to spread out on the floodplain. So there's a really hard 90-degree bend right here that's armored. And we've looked at doing work at this parcel before, but the timing hasn't been right, but now it is. We've got the landowner interested. Just a little bit of context for where we are in the watershed. The blue line is the creek, and the red lines are our project area. And you can see Powerhouse Road here. We put this slide in here to just kind of highlight that, you know, the creek is pretty constrained throughout this lower reach. There's minimal opportunities for restoration practitioners to improve the habitat in here in terms of riparian potential, except in this project area. It's just between the buildings and the road and the orchards, there's just not a lot of room in there. So we think this is kind of the last best, lowest opportunity.
And Margaret, I think the Ketchen property went across the creek a ways. I check on, I mean, it looks like that line goes all the way to the creek, but when we bought out Dennis Ketchen, I don't know, it's been a long time. But I
thought that too, Doug. And then Zach, you were looking at those property lines, and you and I talked about that, just kind of going back to here. What, just for others that don't know, this property right here is the city of Yakima's property that we all like to call Ketchen. And it's great to have Doug on the committee because he knows this project forward and backwards and went through a lot working on all these projects for a decade or more. Zach, what did the assessors, are you confident in these parcel lines based on the assessor information?
Not super confident on the assessor map that I was looking at. It did extend across the creek, but the boundary on some areas was the creek. And as we've got these engineered drawings and such, we would be able to assess where that actual property line was. That was just best guess from taking from the parcel viewer to that, but it did have some boundaries with the creek.
Yeah, I'd check out more than and actually get some survey data or something, because I was, like I say, it's been a long time, but I'm pretty sure that the city owns some of the property on the other side of the creek.
We'll check that out, Doug. Thank you.
This is Alex. Is this a parcel map, or I thought that this was part of the larger parcel that includes the uplands and the house, or is it a separate parcel?
It is not a parcel map. The parcel map Graham owns two parcels. There's a block right there, and then right downstream where his house and the barn and stuff, there's another separate parcel down there. So it's like kind of two parcels that Graham owns. This one technically has just the rudimentary shed on it, and then he has his house parcel.
I don't know if it's still the same owner that was there. Like I say, it's been.
It's not. It's a different guy now, Doug.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It changed
He was
hands.
going to sell us the whole. If we'd have known earlier what we found out later, he would have sold us the whole thing, and Cowiche Canyon could have had their office in his barn over there. But anyway, that's.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah, we'll check. We will make sure of the property lines, and we're coordinating really closely with the city. So if for some reason we need to be on the city's property, they've the city's been great about working with us.
Of course, there's nobody down there anymore that was involved in this, but Brett's right across the street. He can't.
Yeah, and the new city engineer, Bill Preston, is like can-do guy, wants to get, you know, the work done, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
So what do we have at this parcel? Here's a better look at it. Zach took these with our new drone, which is really exciting, beautiful pictures. So you've got the railroad berm, which is really hard to see. It's in the trees. Got an incised and armored channel, bank armoring, and there's some fill in this area that cuts off what should be like floodplain and channels. And then a lot of this is Himalayan blackberry, so preventing native vegetation from reestablishing. What we do have going on in here is there's a pretty nice beaver dam. So you can just see how giant the creek is in some of these pictures, because Zach took these in spring during high flow and the beaver dam was really backing up some water. So the goal of the project, or the goal of the request, is to plan for a project to improve 800 feet of stream and 1.3 acres of floodplain. So again, just a design-only request. So we would work with the same engineer that we're using now. And this picture, just don't get disoriented. We're now looking upstream, right? So this is the project area for the design, and this is up here is the project area for the request that was approved last year. So we would have our engineer do a survey, hydraulic modeling, extend the model down in this area. We would do final design, including cultural resources. And there is some kind of an old foundation on this property. So we want to make sure that we fully understand what the cultural resources are here. We would do full permitting and a full bid package. So we'd be ready to go with this project and a riparian planting plan. So that's the scope. Our request to
garbage dump down there too.
We will get rid of any garbage.
Yeah.
Cowiche Creek, there's so much garbage. The request is $50,000, and we're going in that category that Surfboard has that's called no match, 18-month design. And if we can somehow design it faster and get it built all together, we will. I don't know how feasible that is. We'll have to see. Opportunities and challenges for this site. Well, beavers are exciting, and I'm pro beaver, but they're also sort of a challenge for our riparian planting plan for both sites. And we are definitely going to be focusing on multi-stemmed plants for the riparian planting. Another opportunity is we have a great willing landowner here. It's a unique opportunity in this watershed because of the limitations on where we can work. Challenged with that potential cultural resource, we have talked to some consulting archaeologists and feel like we can probably be able to move forward on this site, but it's definitely why we want to do a design first. And the trail is not a constraint at this site because it'll be downstream. So why is this a separate proposal, you want to know? We put it as a separate proposal because we really want that upstream project to move forward and not to get slowed down by any kind of complications with this lower project. We have also the landowner interest. The landowner is on board and interested and excited now.
But you don't have to. You can just take
Sorry, I have a little background noise. This site needs additional design work, so that's another reason that we wanted to have it as a separate proposal, because we want to kind of do more here than we had thought about in the past. And just the timeline in general. So I've got just a picture of one of the upstream projects here, just to kind of highlight that these projects work and they're working well. This is the city of Yakima's property near Prospect Lane. on the property that we used to call Jenner John in a high flow. Some of you have seen this picture before. This is the City of Yakima's property at the end of Cowiche Canyon Road. And this picture was taken in 2018. So the plants are even bigger now. This was, you can see Kat Strathman right there. So she's a normal sized person. This site was planted in 2010 and the plants are doing well. And there was the same railroad berm on top of this site, and it looks great now. So a lot of opportunity here. I think that's my last slide, so I'm ready for questions.
Thank you, Margaret.
Sean, do you want to just ask your question?
Yeah, thanks. I guess my question is, I guess I'm not following exactly what are you trying to improve? And the reason I'm asking that is, I realize there is a railroad berm there, but when you're talking about channel improvements and riparian, it looks from the picture like there's, even if there's blackberry underneath, there's it looked like an overstory of cottonwoods or aspens or something like that. And, you know, as you note, we often try to introduce beavers as a solution. So what is it that we're really trying to fix here? Is my question.
There's a bunch of bank armoring at this corner, and then there's a lot of fill in this area, and it looks a little more treed than it is in these pictures. It's really a blackberry and rose thicket with some trees. Zach and Kat like somehow got through this. It's pretty dense. Zach, do you want to elaborate on the vegetation there a little bit?
Yeah, so Sean, with this project, I mean, I have a lot of ideas where the design should go. The original designs back in 14, 15, Margaret, for the original one of the berm removal, it had a training swell that went through there. And if that's the best outcome that the designs have this year, then great, because then it could expand that beaver complex, inundate that floodplain, get rid of the blackberries, and probably get more riparian health going there, because these pictures were taken pretty high flows with that beaver pond backing the water up, and it still wasn't penetrating through that fill material at all. So as that Cowiche gets cemented in place where it's at with the trailhead on the other side, and just kind of looking forward how it's going to look in the future, kind of giving it some room beyond a 90-degree bend with armoring, getting rid of that fill and letting it meander an extra 60 feet through that acre would kind of be the last little bit that could be improved, even though it's still confined. And again, the engineers are looking at this as well for additional wood and basalt boulders to kind of add this lower section, since it's, you know, this lower section is where the coho spawn at. So again, we're putting it in the engineer's hand to do a little bit bigger design instead of just a training swale. But if that's what it comes out to be, the best uplifts, then that's what we'll go with.
Okay, thank you. Also note, I mean, that the bridge that's going to be installed downstream, that is going to be an additional constraint probably. I mean, the creek's going to have to go under the bridge.
Yeah, it's a pretty wide design. WDFW is requiring a pretty wide bridge. I think it's 180-foot span.
Oh, okay. Well, pretty big for that area. Thanks.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And just going back to Sean, I did put a technical advisory group. No, that's not what it's called. The technical working group, a twig meeting in our, scope, so that we would have an opportunity to sit down with, some of the people in this room and others to just look at the designs and help us guide that, what that final project's going to look like. Any other questions?
Thank you, Margaret. That was great. And thanks for covering both those kind of so efficiently.
Well, you guys, thanks for bearing with me with my technical difficulties. I'm sorry the slides were probably harder to see than they should have been.
I was able to see just fine. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, great. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Appreciate your review.